welcome to the Deuce Podcast. I'm Brad.
And I'm Jeremy.
And just when you thought it was safe to get back into the water, we are doing another pick. This is my pick.
It's your pick.
And I chose Jaws 2, the follow-up to Jaws.
Yes.
The one that Steven Spielberg did not want to do.
Really?
He did not want to. Well, Steven Spielberg thought that sequels were, below, like the, lowest common denominator movies. Like
yeah.
He was just like, oh, those are gimmicky, And he, for a long time he didn't do,
sequels. Yeah.
Obviously he's done sequels since.
Yeah.
Then,
Well, it seems
I'm
like
still waiting for Amistad 2. As most people are.
Him and some of the other people on this film shared the same sentiments.
Very much true. Very much true. This is a movie that had a little bit of problems with production, you would say.
Yeah.
It came out in 1978. Jaws 2 is available for you to stream on Starz if you have Starz. You can watch, I think, all the Jaws movies on
Starz.
You can.
They're all
so you
there.
can go Jaws crazy if you want.
Yep.
So you can watch that, Jaws 3D without the glasses, and Jaws Revenge with the Kane himself, Michael. This, of course, is Jaws 2, the 1978 action-adventure drama on horror movie, you would say, kind of in a way.
Yeah, it's basically like a horror movie.
Yeah, this is. This movie, like we said, had some problems, but one of the problems was actually that Roy Schneider came back and he didn't really want to do this movie.
Yeah.
You were telling me a little bit.
Yeah, I've started to learn a little bit more about Roy Scheider. I liked him back in the day.
Him. Yeah.
Well, he seems kind of like he's an insufferable shit.
Yeah, he seemed like he was.
So he, the story goes, he was actually in The Deer Hunter.
Okay.
And was scheduled to start that. They were like a week or two from starting principal filming. And he started having a tantrum about the fact that he didn't believe that somebody would go halfway around the world to save their friend. And so he was, ranting about that. And they ended up firing him, or he ended up quitting, or whichever.
What character was he supposed to be? Was he supposed to be Christopher Walken's character?
Yeah.
Well, screw you, Christopher Walken won an Academy Award for that.
Yeah, right?
So you're an idiot.
I think that was the role he was supposed to be.
He probably was.
But he was like, nobody would do this, and he took off.
Well, that's dumb.
Yeah. And so
the studio was like, you owe us.
He was under a 3-movie contract with Universal Studios. Okay. And he had done one of the movies so far. And they were like, you put us in a real bad position with leaving this movie. We're all prepared to start. Now production's going to be behind. Mm-hmm. And he's like, well, we got to work something out. Because he also, because he was locked into that contract, couldn't get another job.
Sure.
Until later. So they went, tell you what, we'll make you a deal. You film Jaws 2 and we'll just release you. Like, we'll count this as a twofer. Like, we'll release you from the two movies if you do Jaws 2. So because he didn't want to do Jaws 2 when they asked him about it. And of course, then he was like, was doing his normal thing. Like, he was pissed off and having tantrums. And then like, he would go around and act crazy and just be a jerk and stuff like that, hoping the studio would fire him.
Yeah.
And just release him from the contract altogether.
Okay.
And they stuck to their guns and were like, nope, movie's going to be filmed.
There you go.
And so the whole time, like, he filmed the movie and he did a good job in it, but like, behind the scenes, he was a dick.
Right. It seems like he was fine in this movie. Like, right?
But that's kind of like that's kind of his like MO. I was reading about like, Sequest, which I loved as a kid, and like he would go on like interview stuff and just start shit talking the show. Like he said, what was this? He said, it's total childish trash. I'm ashamed of it.
Okay.
And then later he says,
then why are you in it?
Yeah. We're moving to Florida. We're going to present human beings who had a life on land as well as on the boat. We've had one script that's done that, Scheider said. The other shows are Saturday afternoon, 4 o'clock junk for children.
Okay,
just
whatever.
Junk, old, tired, time warp robot crap.
Okay. Thanks. Thanks, Roy.
Yeah. I'm just
I
like...
used to like him, though. Like, I really did. Like, I used to be like, oh, man, that guy's underrated. But now reading into this stuff, I'm just like, maybe you were just... no wonder he got along with Bob Fosse. Because he probably went drinking and womanizing with Bob Fosse. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. He goes, it's not real, he said. It's not even good fantasy. I mean, Star Trek does this stuff much better than we can do it. To me, the show is now 21 Jump Street meets Star Trek.
What? Whatever. Okay, so anyway, besides
so Roy,
his hateful...
Yeah, so Roy Shithead's doing his...
So Roy Shithead. Lorraine Gray stars as Ellen.
Yes.
Ellen, again.
Yeah.
And then we have Murray Hamilton as the mayor, Mayor Vaughn.
Yep.
Right, from the first movie as well, right?
Correct.
This movie was directed by, right after this movie, actually a little bit of tidbit about this movie. For a short while, this was the largest grossing sequel of all time until Rocky II.
Nice.
So that had something going for it for a while. But you got to remember, like, there really wasn't that much, you didn't think much of, because Jaws was such a blockbuster, right?
Yeah.
Jaws really created the blockbuster movie.
Yes, it did.
So, obviously, Jaws 2 then created the box office sequel, you would say.
Yeah.
So, in turn, we're kind of doing the thing that kind of kicked off the sequels, you would say, that you would get time and time again. Now, when people complain that there's no good movies out because they're all just sequels and blah, blah, blah. They've been doing this for years, folks. This is 1978. Jaws 2. Get with the program.
Yeah, I don't know how to pronounce this guy's name. Jeannot...
Oh, the director?
Schwartz?
I don't know. He's French. Jeannot Schwartz, probably.
Okay.
Right after that, after this movie, he directed one of my favorite movies of all time, Somewhere in Time.
I thought you were going to say Supergirl.
Supergirl. No, that was before. He actually did Supergirl as well. Directed the movie Supergirl. But directed the movie Somewhere in Time with Christopher Reeves and your friend Jane Seymour.
My friend Jane Seymour.
You and Jane Seymour go way, way back.
We do. I'll settle the score one day.
When you fell with Jane Seymour. I mean,
Yeah.
I believe that movie Somewhere in Time is one of Christopher Reeves' greatest underrated performances of all time. And it's a really good movie.
And Santa Claus the movie.
And did he do Santa Claus the movie with Dudley Moore?
Yeah.
Is that the one with Dudley Moore?
I think so.
Oh, Jesus, this guy's probably French drunk too. Okay.
He also did.
He's done a lot of TV shows.
Yeah, a bunch of Heroes episodes, Jag episodes.
Yeah, Fringe, all that.
Smallville. Yeah.
Some of the more the CW shows. I think nowadays, maybe, who knows? Do we have a plot synopsis for this movie?
I do have one.
May we hear your plot
synopsis?
Oh
yeah, I suppose. Let me see here.
It's safe to ask Jerry about a plot synopsis.
4 years after having to contend with a killer great white shark, a series of boating accidents and mysterious incidents convinced the chief of police of Amity Island that another great white has appeared in the vicinity. Unfortunately, he is unable to obtain proof, and the island officials refuse to believe the threat exists, while various swimmers and boating enthusiasts carry on regardless.
Ooh, carry on. Wow. Thanks, Colleen Dewhurst, for that.
Stop.
Plot summary. Appreciate that one.
I ruined my voice to give you a plot synopsis.
You did ruin it. You ruined it screaming at
me. And you just mocked me for it.
I did mock you for it. There's a couple reasons why I chose this as a pick. First of all, I've never seen this movie before, so I had no perceptions going into it that I had beforehand. And I've only seen Jaws once. A couple of years ago, we watched Jaws on Memorial Day.
I think
and
so.
And like cocktails, whatever.
And we did.
Yeah, Jaws gummy bears, or what? Gummy Jaws,
like the gummy sharks.
Gummy sharks, not gummy bears. All right. This movie surprised me in ways that I didn't know. Because you think about the Jaws movies, you think that the sequels are just crap.
Yeah.
And this is not Jaws, obviously. But there were some actually good action sequences and some good, fun moments in this movie that are actually worth seeing.
Oh, yeah.
I believe so, but that's just me. So I don't know where you want to start. If you want to start with maybe some of the stuff that did not work in this movie and some of the stuff that maybe worked, and then work our way, if you want to do it that way.
Yeah, well, you want to start with what worked?
Yeah. I actually enjoyed Roy Schneider in this movie.
Yeah.
I mean, I thought, even though like the background of this movie, how it felt like he didn't want to do the movie when he was on screen. I mean, he seemed like,
I think he's professional enough that he's not going to like tank his performance either.
Yeah, right. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's a scene where he's on the observation deck and then he runs out because he thinks he sees a shark in the water, and he starts running and he starts shooting at the water. I thought that was really intense and really well shot. I actually thought that was probably, besides him saving the kids, probably the best moment that he has in this movie. Besides him, I don't even like his coming home drunk, because I don't even think that was played very well.
Yeah,
I think he just was like, okay, I have to do that.
Probably was drunk.
Probably was, and that's probably why it kind of fell flat. Also, what worked in this movie was the fact that you do like a lot of these movies, when you put kids in them, you have the kids and they're kind of dumb. They're like, oh, we're damsel in distresses because we don't know what to do. I don't think these kids are necessarily dumb. I think they're actually smarter than some of the kids you get in slasher movies.
Yeah.
When their boats wreck and they kind of, wrap them all together and try to, and they're hey, go take Timmy, or not Timmy, or what's his name? Not
Michael.
Timmy, but Michael. Yeah, sorry. There's so many kids in there. It's like Newsies all over.
I don't know most of their names.
I don't know most of their names either. I'm just like the screaming girl. I just know I know Michael and Sean because those are the
Potsy,
Brody kids.
Potsy was in there.
Right, Potsy was in it. But I really enjoyed the kids actually in this, and looking at their other IMDb pages, they're kind of small, which I find very shocking because I'm like, they're really not that bad. There are also some of them that aren't that great either.
Yeah,
but
this was Michael's last movie.
Yeah, right. I'm like, okay, but
who believe it or not is a year older than my parents.
There you go. Did you go to high school with your parents?
No, but he did live in Missouri, so just one state away.
So just one state away. I don't know. What are some of the things that worked for you in this movie?
I do think like the stuff with the kids, and like sometimes when you have people in the water, it's like, ugh,
yeah,
like how dumb are you?
Great.
But like I think I really felt like they were making fairly rational choices, not always, but like for the most part they were. And that like the shark overcoming what they were doing was just because the shark was smart.
Yeah.
There was excuse me. There was a couple of times like I like the stuff where the shark would go by and have close calls, or like
I do too.
There's one where like they pull Michael
out the boat.
Yeah, right as the shark is like going to bite him, and it just brushes up against the boat. And
I feel like that's more of an upgrade from the first movie.
Yeah,
like they learned how to do that, and so they're like, let's do that.
Yeah,
I think you obviously see the shark a lot more in this one than you do the first one.
Yeah.
So there's not that much. The plot and the dialogue are a little lackluster.
Yeah,
I would say, as far as the first one, with a couple of monologues you have. Having said that, it doesn't make fun of itself. Like it doesn't have those moments where it's like meta.
Yeah.
And that's good, because I'm like, a movie like this that's so serious with the sharks, I don't think needs to be funny.
Agreed.
Do you know?
And they take themselves. I think like the whole thing is they took themselves seriously enough. Like sometimes you get when it gets a sequel, it's got that point of diminishing returns.
Right.
I don't think this one does that very much. It's very like, hey, this is supposed to be a good movie, and we're gonna make it the best we can.
Yeah. Obviously this is not the first movie at all. You have some lackluster as far as star power is concerned. You obviously don't have much of the cast from the first movie, which made And you don't have some of the heightness of the townsfolk as well.
Yeah,
you do a little bit, and I wish they would have had more of that.
I do too.
And that's, we'll talk about that. What it was lacking.
One of the things that we'll circle back to that.
We'll circle back to that. But also the music. John Williams is back doing the music for this. The music in this is perfect, spot on. Everything about the music leads up to and brings the emotion. It did in the first movie, and it does in this movie as well.
Yeah.
The moments where it's supposed to be quiet and then lead up to that work perfectly. There's a scene at the beginning where they're water skiing, like some girls water skiing on the back of a boat, and then that's when we first kind of get like the shark attack, and the girl blows up the boat.
Yeah.
By accident. That's the only kind of like really weird moment of the movie that kind of takes it out for me.
Yeah.
But I enjoyed the build up.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, okay, so
it's not a Steven Spielberg build up by any means, but he knows how to build it up.
Yeah.
And create drama.
The whole thing that I was like, what? The girl, so she's pouring gasoline because I think that the thing is supposed to be like, if you are covered in gas, it won't eat you or something. Yeah. But then she takes a flare gun to go shoot it at it and like starts herself, which I thought this part was, I was like, oh my God. Like she starts, the shark gets burnt and backs off. Then she's burning, which I was like, oof, that's rough.
Yeah, right.
And then when I forgot the boat explodes, and then I was like, oh my God, right.
The boat explodes. Kind of like, I'm like, I felt like, oh, it's a little too much.
But I get like in that I think the people in these movies panic well.
They really do.
Like, the things that are good panic things, like, you know, sometimes those movies are stupid when it comes to panic. And I'm glad they didn't do anything like, so the gal is pouring gasoline, then she grabs a flare gun to attack, not thinking that, hey, I'm going to set myself on fire.
She's the dumbest person in the movie. I mean, really.
But I get what she's trying to do, but she's like panicking. And it happens later too with like the boats when all the yachts start like running into each other because they're trying to get away. But I'm glad they didn't do like, sometimes in these movies, then all of a sudden people start dying of like accidents they're doing to each other and not like the shark itself.
Right. I'm like that didn't happen either.
Like when one of the boats goes through the hull of another one, like I was afraid that they were going to like, somebody was going to get impaled by that and everything. Like they don't do those things. It's been a while since I've seen this, so I'm like, a lot of this stuff was kind of fresh for me again. So, but yeah, I think they did a good job of the panic piece of it. The explosion part was a little over the top.
It was like, a little over. It was, but it's the way it is. There is a scene that I really loved when Sean, the little kid, falls in and they're trying to get him, and there's one of the girls falls in with him.
Yeah,
the shark is coming, and I'm like, oh my God, are they gonna kill Sean?
Yeah,
like the little kid. Like I know, like it's kind of like that taboo thing that you don't kill kids. Yeah, but like I'm like, they totally are going to do it, and he finally gets on like the over capsized boat, but like the shark lunges, and then just pretty much gulps down the girl, and you just see him like scream as a kid actor. Like he did such a well job where he's just screaming, and I went, okay, that was good. Yeah, I liked that scene, and it was very horror.
Yeah, well, and the girl was the way they do it too is very clean. It wasn't like a bunch of cut shots of it or anything. Like she's trying to help him up there, to help him get up so that she can get up. Yeah. And you see the shark go up in the view, so you can't see her because she's between the boat and the shark. And when he goes back down, she's gone. Yeah, I'm like, oof, all right. Now those kids, by the way, they when they were on those like yachts and whatever. So apparently, when they were shooting, there was actually a hammerhead shark that was circling their boat, their like boat island. And so they were freaking out, and trying to get help. They were trying to call the production team over.
Hey, just film them.
And they were trying to call the production team over, and the production team went, wow, they are really into character. And started like, hey, great job, thumbs up. And, trying to like, we're just playing along, thinking they were goofing around, but they weren't.
Yeah. Anything else work for you in this movie? Like really work?
That mostly.
Mostly.
I think it was mostly around that.
So let's talk about what didn't quite work.
Yeah.
And for me, a lot of the towns area.
Yeah.
Anything that was not on sea did not really work well for me.
Yeah.
I actually wanted more of... in fact, towards the end of the movie, I actually didn't want it to end like that, how they ended it. I wanted them to kind of have like how the mayor and everyone kind of have, their just deserves, right?
Yeah.
Because they fired Brody, right?
Yeah.
Because they want to build their vacation spot back up because of what happened before. And I'm like, why aren't you listening to them? It's obviously like they just think it was a fluke last time.
Yeah.
Right. But I kind of wanted a little bit more of that, like give and take with that. Like they just fire him.
Yeah.
So I'm just like, there's a deleted scene where they talk about it, but I didn't want that as a scene. I wanted them kind of arguing with Brody a little bit more. Mm-hmm. Do you know what I mean? And that just doesn't happen that much. Yeah,
the town to me, like, before I got a better sense of like, hey,
right,
here's why we don't want to talk about this. Here's what's going on. Like, you got a better sense of like how the atmosphere on the island was.
You also have characters on the island that are more archetypal from the first movie that lend itself to the story and the plot.
Yeah.
Why this one just kind of it lends itself to Brody being fired.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, we don't really like interact that much with like the townspeople. Right. And so you don't really get a sense of that atmosphere. Like you get the kids.
Right.
But that's about it. And like even like so in this movie takes place 4 years after the first one. And so you get the first one, or like you get the mayor who's like, oh come on now, like, and he's trying to give him the benefit of the doubt, but he's like, dude, it's been years. Like, you would think we'd have a problem before now. And then you get like the evil businessman, which I don't know quite what the deal was there either.
Well, it's also like we didn't build that up.
Yeah.
So like even care about that.
No.
Also, some of the kids we didn't build up. Too,
no, we didn't.
Right? So even the kids that like... some of the kids that died, I didn't think deserved to get died. As far as like you get your stereotypical slasher movies that you're like, that guy's gonna die because he's a dickhole.
Yeah.
Right? It didn't happen in this movie.
Right.
Right? Some of the kids that actually are alive, I'm like, well, whatever. I kind of wanted them to die, but teach their own.
Yeah.
We didn't really get to know them very well.
No,
we just got to know them as they like to go yachting every once in a while.
Yeah.
Or to go sailing. And they're typical kids. That's about it, right?
Yeah.
So we really don't get a lot of like... That's why it's so hard for me to distinguish some of these kids from each other.
Yeah.
Because they just are kids at this point.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Literally, I know Michael.
Yeah, I know Michael Sean. I know the curly hair kid because he's just loud.
Well, I don't even know his name.
I don't even know his name.
There's Amy.
There's Amy.
Was it Amy or Tina?
There's Tina, who is the boat named after.
Yeah, that's why I'm Tina.
That's the only reason I know that her name is Tina.
Yes, that's the only reason I know. And then
the girl, mayor's the guy son, that she likes gets killed.
Yes, and then the mayor's son.
The mayor's son,
who I don't know his name, but I know he's the mayor's son, who's a dick.
But he makes it, right?
Yeah, he makes it.
Yeah, so I'm just like... Ugh.
And his friend, who I think is Peter Tork.
It's not Peter Tork. But yeah, the kid with glasses who's doing the accent. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, Martin Starr.
Martin Starr. That's funny. Yeah, or the mayor who I was like, is that Hal Holbrook? And no, that's Hal Halfbrick or something.
Yeah, it's Hal Halfbrook. Half Hole Creek. Hal Hole Creek.
No, it's just that like the characterizations of these characters, like the only reason why we feel for Brody is because we know him, right?
Yeah.
From the first movie. Other than that, we care about his kids enough because we care about Brody.
Yeah.
But we really don't, in a way.
Yeah.
You know?
I
don't want to see them die, but if they,
Well, I really didn't get that much of like an action up. I mean, you do at the end, but like...
Yeah, oh, yeah.
So, earlier, I would have said this scene worked for me, but like, it feels like they squandered it. Like, at one point he's very paranoid and he's taking bullets and he's putting cyanide on them or whatever. And then he's covering them with wax. And I'm like, cool, he's making cyanide-tipped bullets.
Right.
Which I was like, that's interesting how he was doing it. Thought it was really cool. And then, of course, like, to me, I'm like, it's a great scene of, like, him being paranoid.
Yeah.
And we know he's right, but still, he's, like, kind of losing his marbles. And before he starts firing at the beach, basically.
Right.
But, like... I wanted more of him to have that, like, badass, like, gearing up moment.
I did, too.
All you had was, like, that, and where he fires it off, and it doesn't, like, come back up or play
and then you have
again.
him, like, trying to tell... no, it's true. There's a shark out there. I know it. And you're like, well, now you gotta, convince them that there's a shark, and they don't really care, because they're not looking at it, so they're just gonna fire you from shooting off bullets.
Yeah.
At a kid, and... I mean, seriously, I was like, the kid's not even out of the water yet. You're shooting the bullets. Like, let the kid come in yet.
Yeah.
I was like, what? Yeah, but again, like, that's what I mean. Like, the wife.
Yeah.
Whatever. Like, I'm like, she's just a wife in these 70s movies, right?
Yeah.
Like, there's nothing really... Like, I don't really feel for her. Like, the only good character moment I get from her is when she consoles Tina.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Other than that, like, you're just the wife of Brody.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, I really thought, like, this movie could have lent itself to kind of build these characters up just a little bit more.
Yes.
So I could have a little bit more investment into it.
Oh, then let me tell you, Jaws 4 is the movie for you.
You know what I mean? But, like, I think this movie would have worked even a little bit better through that, if that was...
Yeah.
Not a lot. I'm just saying just a little bit,
Can I tell you there's one more thing? I'm sorry, I forgot to say something else that worked for me.
Yeah.
When the helicopter comes to rescue the kids.
Oh, shit. That's a good scene.
Right?
Oh, I forgot about that.
Yeah. So
and
the helicopter...
shark pulls the helicopter down.
The helicopter comes to rescue them. You're like, oh, he's just going to pull them up and take them off. And then the shark comes up and, like, bites the pontoon part of it. And I was thinking, like, oh, he's just going to run from them.
Right.
But then he's like, nope, we're just going to pull that all in and flip it over. And
then the blades break off and hit the sails. And I was like, what?
Yeah, and tear all that up.
Yeah. But again, like,
I'm glad.
But again, a character didn't get hit.
Yeah, nobody like got hit and like today that would have hit somebody and sliced them in half and like been gory.
Like, look at that, ha ha ha! It would have like catered to fan service instead of like building something up.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, it's just that didn't. Yeah, that part was cool, but like the building off of the characters, and there also seems to be too many kids on the boats, right? For me to like distinguish them too. Like I'm like, how many boats are you taking out? You're taking out like 5 boats. I was like, great. Here we go again. That's what I thought. Maybe but. I don't know. There's not that many people that die in the first movie, is there?
The what?
In the first movie? Like, the body count's bigger in this movie, right?
I think the body count's bigger in this one.
Yeah, I was going to say. So, it's the sequel, the body part, So, I think we should talk about, like, the impact that these movies, like Jaws and Jaws 2, do have. I mean, you seriously are getting still shark movies.
Yeah.
From now until Doomsday, you'll get a shark movie like every 3 years.
Yeah,
you'll get someone trying to redo these movies or trying to make them, more modern. In a way,
and sometimes they don't even show up in water; they just show up in a.
So sometimes they show up in a shark.
In a Sharknado.
Or sometimes, when you were upstairs and I was queuing up the movie, there's Sand Sharks.
I saw that too. I was just like,
oh my god.
But like, think about like the monster movies. It's we look at things a lot like this now, where it's just like these surprise, like something busts its head through and grabs somebody, or like.
Even though this movie came out like in the 70s, for some reason the kills themselves seem more fresh to me than even some of the horror movies nowadays.
Well, I think
I don't know if to you it does, but
yeah, I just think that like today we have to go, because we've seen this before, right? Like we've seen this. It's been duplicated and everything. Well, how do you differentiate? So like the next one is like a little bit more graphic, or the next one is a little bit crazier. You do think of these crazy different ways to do these things, because you gotta make your mark on it,
right?
And so I think that you get these movies where it gets crazy. Like you get where I think of like the Final Destination movies, where it's just it's just Mousetrap the movie, and
like after a while,
like everything is like way over the top death, and like each movie got subsequently crazier.
Yeah, it's true.
But I think that's kind of how the movies went. But like, I think this movie stepped it up from Jaws, which was like, okay, like, and other movies did that too around the time.
Don't you see the influence of that, like, kind of coming into fruition of like nowadays, where we would just kind of up at the ante, like, because this movie does do it, but it does it in a better way than, say, even movies nowadays that you would get the number 2 in a sequel, right?
Right.
So I don't know, for some reason this feels, I don't know, scarier. I don't know. It just seems, because it could happen. Do you know what I mean? I think that's what what gets me.
I think like all the kids being trapped together out on whatever seems a little bit like.
I think that could have been gimmicky.
Yes,
but they played it correctly.
It seems a little far fetched, but it was enjoyable.
But it was enjoyable.
Yes.
Yeah. If you didn't have that, then
right.
How would you do the movie?
Yeah. There's a great shot on like first off, the gal who kept screaming, I was like, just push her in.
Just
let the shark have her. But then there was this great scene where they're all like, they're doing damage control. They're trying to put everything together. They're starting to fight with one another.
Right. I enjoyed that too.
And then you hear this girl, and she's like saying a prayer. She's like, please help us, please help us. And everybody who's on one part of the boat turns around and looks, and she's basically like sitting up with her knees pulled into her chest, kind of in the fetal position, but she's sitting in the other boat just like saying this prayer, and everybody's silent, just looking at her. And then Sean is on the other boat, because that's where the lady had just gotten eaten, and he's just sitting over there curled up too, or holding onto the fin on the bottom side of the boat. I mean, to me, that was a wonderful shot, and like it could have been gimmicky, and could have gone way like gorier and like chaotic and everything. But I think he portrayed it correctly. I think that was a great. I think they did it correctly.
This director has a way, because you've seen Somewhere in Time, where in the background, like all of a sudden the characters will be there in a small shot, like above something, or like in like a window, or like in a small.
He's
like
great with the framing, and
where he's really good at framing, and so that's why I was really excited to watch this movie. I even think like even probably the worst parts of his movies that are probably really not that great probably still have that.
Yeah, it's
just the fact of finding that and knowing it. There is actually a shot that happens at the beginning when Brody comes in, and they have we forgot really to mention the beginning, which I actually think is just a really simple, nice shot when he's late for the opening of the hotel thing.
Yeah.
And we see him kind of go through, and he goes under a thing, and then we see him, but we're kind of far away.
Mm-hmm.
It's just one of those shots that like you don't really pay attention to it, because it's at the beginning and it's really not plot related, but it's actually really well done. And I actually kind of enjoyed that.
There's a lot of great sweeping shots at the beginning.
He's really good at sweeping, and I'm like, oh, that's so amazing. Yeah, but I mean, is there some? I mean, what else do you want to talk about this movie? I mean, there's really not a lot to talk about, because a lot of it is just there's a lot of just scare and chase, and
There is. There's a lot of like scenes of the open water
Right.
or like traveling scenes and things
Right.
like that, which
you know what, like thank God we didn't have like here's the thing that like I'm glad we didn't have. I'm glad we didn't have a montage.
yes,
We're preparing the boat.
yeah,
There's also like a nice scene at the beginning where there's someone kind of like where the kids where they're like parasailing kind of in a way. They keep dipping in the water
Yeah.
at the beginning, and I was like, no, like you think he's just gonna get like they're gonna lift it up and like it's just gonna be bloody, right?
yeah.
But it never does. But like you kind of feel that tension,
The tension, yeah.
that it's there, and you're like, okay, this is how it's gonna be.
I'm also glad they didn't like have a whole nother like so. There was one time where he tells them all to get out of the water, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I'm also glad that it wasn't exactly the same as before, and like we didn't have
Correct.
that happen multiple times. Like we've seen the terror on the beach piece before. Like I'm glad it happened the one time,
Yeah.
because this time and that like the shark didn't show up there,
Right.
because it
water.
heightened his paranoia,
Yeah.
and showed us just like, oh man, you're losing it. I think that part, like, I like the way that it was a similar setup to the previous one where he was like, everybody out of the water, but this way was not. It didn't pan out exactly the same. And I think it highlighted and emphasized a different thing about Brody for us,
Right.
which I thought was good.
Yeah.
I thought they did that right.
Should we do our questions?
Yeah, let's do that.
Yeah, let's do our questions.
So what do you think was the best part of the movie?
There's a lot of great things about this movie.
Yeah.
I think that this is more underrated than like go back and watch this movie, folks. Like really do. Like if you think that the Jaws sequels are crap, I think you're not looking at this movie very correctly. And I think you're thinking of Jaws 3 and Jaws 4. But for some reason this movie is a little underrated. At least in my book it is.
Yeah.
I think the sweeping scenes are great. I think the music's wonderful, but I really enjoyed that. I want to go with the chopper scene.
Yeah.
That's like my favorite because it kind of surprised me. Like I was actually, I wasn't like it wasn't a jump scare.
Yeah.
Like at no time was I jumped scared at this movie, but I was heightened by it because I knew it was going to happen. But when it happened, I was like, "Oh shit, this is gonna be epic!"
Yeah, yeah.
So when they tore the helicopter and then the blades broke, that's what got me. And the blades hit the sails, which just screwed them up even more.
Yeah.
I kind of like that, so I'm gonna say that is my favorite part of this movie.
I think just overall, the shark itself, I think, was an improvement over Bruce from the first movie. Just because they had a better idea of how to build it and how to like design it and everything. I think we got much better and more realistic shots of like, so when the shark comes up close to the boat and it hits it, you can see kind of the skin like move because it looks a little bit realer. You see, my favorite one is as they're trying to like get to, was it like Electrical Cable Island or whatever, Cable Junction Island. So they're trying to get over there, and as they're doing all this, at one point the shark pops up through the middle of their boat, like through the canvas, and to me that was freaky. I was like, oh god.
I thought so too.
Yeah, and it's nobody dies there or anything, which I'm glad they didn't, but it's just freaky that like, oh man, this thing can come through anywhere. And like their little world that they were on was just getting smaller and
also
smaller.
like the look of the shark doesn't look gimmicky
No.
to where like
even with
like
even with the burn face, it doesn't look that gimmicky.
Right, that's what I mean. Like even with that, like I'm okay with it. It looks menacing enough, but not like so menacing that it looks fake.
Yes, agreed. I'm in full agreement. So, second question: would you reboot, continue, or cancel?
Based on this movie, I can see why they continued, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it makes sense.
Yeah.
But knowing what comes after this,
Yeah.
it's pretty terrible. But based on this movie alone, I would continue it. But I would continue it through, I don't know, maybe anthology series or something like that.
I would So personally, I would make one maybe in preparation to reboot it. I don't know, but like I wanted to, and the original, I think one of the original thoughts about the second movie was going to be a prequel,
right?
And so the story of Jaws, and the story of everything here is actually based on like a historical story, like in the Amityville Islands. Or Amityville Island area, there was like some shark attacks. I thought it was in the 1800s, like the late 1800s. I'd have to go and figure that out exactly. Yeah. But there were some, like, there's all these interesting shark stories.
Mm-hmm.
There was in the Northeast, there was a time where there was a shark that got into an inland creek.
Okay.
And like where people were playing in the creek and stuff, where you normally have nothing to worry about. This shark was killing people.
Dawson's Creek?
Yes. No, this shark was killing people in this creek.
Mm-hmm.
And so like there was this big terror about like, oh my God, the sharks could be anywhere. Like I think it was like in the 1800s or early 1900s. But yeah, I would like to see more of like the prequel talking about like the past of this.
So you're saying a prequel, maybe?
Yeah, like I wouldn't mind seeing a prequel and maybe either tie, like, hey, we'll come up with a new movie that ties into the previous ones, to continue those,
right?
Or to just start over. Although I
said,
can't.
like, the one connection with all the movies is the fact that the Brody family.
Yeah.
So you felt like the mom always thought that the sharks were after the.
Well, in the fourth movie, that's the whole thing.
That's the whole thing.
Because Sean dies in the fourth movie.
Right.
Spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert.
He becomes a police officer. He dies. Michael, who's a marine biologist, is setting out to sea, and so Ellen goes after, is trying to save him. So she goes after him.
Yeah.
To fend off the shark.
When Michael grew up, he looked like Dennis Quaid.
Yeah. I don't know if he was in the fourth one, though.
Yeah, right.
If he was just Dennis Quaid for a movie. Although, interestingly enough, like, a lot of the promotional materials for Jaws the Revenge, it says, like, it basically talked about, like, this is, the third part in the series, or in the trilogy.
That's weird.
Like, they wanted to just forget Jaws 3D happened.
Oh, gotcha.
Or not acknowledge it.
Yeah.
Even though it's clearly part of that. Like, a lot of promotional things, they tried to be like, what third movie?
It's like, you did it.
Yeah.
So either,
just
walk your way out of it, or just realize.
But they didn't, you didn't see a lot of that.
Yeah, that's true. All right, what's the question? So you say prequel that?
Yeah, I think I would prequel it.
Prequel that shark.
Does this movie stand on its own?
No.
No, I don't think so either. No, because
we have to know the background of Brody.
Yeah, and the mayor and the mayor, all that stuff.
Right? And why are they like, no, it's not another shark?
Yeah.
And the townspeople, and the towns itself.
Yeah.
So no, I don't think it does.
Does this make you want to watch the first one?
Yes, very much so. Doesn't make me want to watch anything after that, but yes, it makes me want to watch the first.
I kind of want to watch the fourth one.
Not the third one?
No.
Third one's crap.
Yes. That's the one I think I've seen the most, actually, is the third one. He used to be on like Sunday afternoons a lot.
It seems like a Sunday afternoon kind of thing, yeah. Yeah, I mean, I want to watch the first one. I've only seen it once.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm willing to. Yeah, this movie makes me want to watch the first one.
Okay.
Yeah.
And sum up your experience in 2 words.
Go ahead. You first.
Fantastic.
Damn it, you stole mine. Mine was fantastic as well.
No, I think, like, as far as sequels go, and especially sequels
Mine's
like...
Great White, because there's no black people in this movie.
Oh my God, there's not, is there?
Yeah, if you think about it, there's none.
No. No,
Also, the women are not treated very well in this movie. They are not.
No,
because at that party at the beginning, it's like, go make sure everyone's getting a drink correctly.
Yeah,
like with
Ellen,
Brody.
who's like his
sure,
whatever,
I guess.
and
or
I'm an executive. Go freshen people's drinks, sweetheart.
What the hell's up with that? No, I don't think so. No, but go ahead. Fantastic.
Yes. I just think that, like, this is a movie where it could have been gimmicky, it could have been really crappy, but I think it held up a lot of the spirit of the first one, and I think it's an entertaining movie that people should, if they haven't given it a chance, they definitely should, and enjoy it as part of the series.
Yeah, mine's second chance. I think people need to to pull their head out of their ass and give this a second chance. This is an entertaining movie. This is a movie that you want to go see nowadays in the movie theater, right? You want to be entertained.
Yes.
It's a summer movie. You know, you want to be entertained by that. You know. I think maybe one of the reasons why people don't give this movie a chance is the fact that it might remind them of just the fact that it's a sequel.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so they don't want to give it that much of a chance. They think, oh, this is just going to eat its own tail.
Yeah.
Shark tail. Pun intended. So, no, but what I mean is, like, this movie kind of brought forth some of the stuff that almost became stale. You know what I mean? Later on, in like the 80s and in the 90s, as far as the, like, sequels are concerned. This is the first kind of real blockbuster sequel that you have.
Yeah.
So, do you know what I mean?
Well, think about this too. Like, if you think about, people used to joke about the Jaws movies. Like, I always thought there was more of them when I was younger because people made jokes like there was tons of them. And finding out there's only 4, I'm like, oh, that's it?
Yeah.
Like, there's more Rocky movies. There's more of this, more of that. I mean, Jesus,
even
Fast
the fact
and Furious,
that, like, yeah, I mean,
but I think that, like,
even Robert Zemeckis makes fun of it in Back to the Future.
Yes, yeah. Jaws 19.
Yeah.
I think because like it became the butt of a joke,
right?
And people didn't see the sequels because they were already busy making fun of them for saying why are there so many of these.
Yeah.
And if you think about
there's so many dinosaur sequels of Jurassic Park, you know, like
well, if you think about like what movies had that many sequels before these?
That's what I mean.
I'm talking like Universal monster movies,
right? Which
I think are wonderful, but you get a lot of people who poop on them because they're just like, oh, that's just kid stuff, or that's not
very
that's not highbrow,
right?
And so I think that to see a movie like this getting more sequels, I think it just got treated like a joke because
I think that's probably one of the reasons why Roy Schneider was probably like, crap, I gotta do Jaws 2.
Yes, sequels today, it's a different story. Like, I think some sequels are just over the top, or people are like, what? But like, people know, like, hey, there's fans of a franchise,
right?
And we're used to that now. Like, we're used to them churning stuff out, and now it's even gone beyond that with like Marvel. And spin-offs and the King Kong universe, or the Godzilla universe. You get the like they're trying to do the Universal monster universe.
Could this become DC? Part of like where they have like where the bugs become rampant or whatever? You know how like all of a sudden around the 80s where it became popular to have these nature horror movies where bugs become rampant or killer ants or something like that.
Well, why not tie it into the Godzilla movies? How about that?
There you go.
Well, the Jaws movies, part of that
and stuff like that. Well, you've been deuced on Jaws 2. It's a fantastic follow-up.
Yeah, definitely recommend
to Jaws 1. Go out and find that. And if you want to continue, skip Jaws 3 and go to Jaws 4. Give Michael Caine that house he deserves. All right, that concludes our sequels of picks that we did. So go back and listen to those. You did Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs 2, and I did Jaws 2. But we will be doing in August some horror summer sequels.
Yeah.
So we'll be starting with next week with I Still Know What You Did Last Summer, which again makes no sense at all for that title.
Yeah.
It's I Still Know What You Did 2 summers ago.
Well, but they know what they did last summer, which was running from somebody who knew what they did the summer before that.
I guess. We'll figure that out, and we'll solve that riddle. And then we'll also be doing Friday the 13th, part 2. That's when Jason joins the cast. And then we'll be doing spoiler alerts. Spoiler. Yeah. And then we'll be doing Sleepaway Camp 2 as well. So
Strong finish with that one. Strong finish with that one.
Strong finish with that one. So if you like us, give us a rating. It's on what Apple Tunes, whatever they call it nowadays.
Apple Podcasts,
whatever.
Yeah, find us.
If you have a suggestion for us to do, we are open to suggestions. If you want to be on our podcast, we'll gladly have you on. We told you what we're doing in August, so if you want to be a guest on our show, go ahead and give us a ringy-ding. How can people find us, though, on the ringy-ding?
On the ringy-ding.
On the ringy-ding-a-ding.
The phone humor of Ari Fleischer. Humor. So you can find us online at thedeucepodcast.podbean.com.
Ring-a-ding.
You can find us on Apple Podcast, Google Play, Stitcher.
Ring-a-ding-a-ding.
Ring-a-dang-dang. You can find us...
Ring-a-dang.
No, you can also find us on nophonynetwork.com, as well as our other network mates, including Lights in the Sky, which is the podcast of the month. Definitely check them out, and the rest of our podcast mates. You can also find us on Facebook, on our page. Please join. We are not Deuce from HBO. And you can find us. Sorry, I always make myself laugh.
What? Because
I got another one the other day. People want to join, and they're like,
makes me laugh.
And they like that show, so I'm
they
just
come
like,
and they
pass.
listen, and they're like, "Oh, this is about that television show on HBO." And then they're like, "Oh no, these guys are awful."
That might be That might be our security question from now on. Are you aware this is not about the HBO show? If they're like,
"Oh, I am."
No, pass.
No, get out of here, James Franco.
Also, you can find us on Twitter at Deuce Podcast. So you can definitely look for posts there. We'll retweet some of our network mates and give us suggestions or, feedback, any of that kind of fun stuff.
Yes. So remember, on that note, folks, the sequel is king.